I saw God, not in church or books, but among the weeping trees of the forest. He did not appear to condemn me. He came to ask, "Are you ready to live differently?" If you hear that question today, don't wait until you have no way out. I used to think I knew everything, not in an arrogant way, but with a certainty built from decades of research, books, and adventures around the world. I am a scientist, graduated with honors, taught at prestigious universities, and was invited to international conferences. People call me the man of reason, and I accept that title as an honor. To me, religion is a form of emotional refuge. Belief in God, in the afterlife, all of these are products of fear that people do not know how to explain. When standing in the middle of the jungle, facing dangerous creatures or harsh living conditions, I believe that if I get it right, I will survive. No need to pray, no miracle needed. But life has twists and turns that we can never predict. Last April, I led a research team into the Amazon jungle. The goal is to survey the impact of climate on the core ecosystem, a place where very few people have ever set foot. We are equipped with modern equipment, satellites, detailed maps, and a team of local guides. Everything is carefully calculated and safe at the maximum level. I never thought anything unexpected would happen. However, on the 8th day in the forest, a heavy rain suddenly came. That rain was unlike any rain I have ever encountered. It fell as if the sky had been torn apart. The wind whistled through the trees, turning the forest into a chaotic mass. While assisting the team in moving equipment to the subcamp, I slipped on the loose ground. Just for a moment, I slid down a deep, wet slope, rolled a few times, and hit my head on a rock. Then there was a period of darkness, quiet down, no images. It was as if the whole world had been unplugged. I don't know how long I'll be dead. Later, when I was found, they said I had been in a coma for 7 days. But for me, that time lasted like a lifetime. When I opened my eyes, or at least felt my eyes open, I was no longer lying on the ground. I am standing in the middle of a strange forest, not like Amazon. Unlike any place I've ever been, trees emit light as soft as phosphorus. The wind blew without moving the leaves, but touched the skin as if whispering something. Everything was strangely quiet. There are no sounds of insects, no bird sounds. There was no sound of human breathing. There was only one thing that was clear: the feeling that I was being seen, not by anyone, but by this forest itself. I walked barefoot. The soil is soft, moist, but not cold. With every step I took, I felt like I was lost deeper into a dimension that my mind couldn't explain. I tried calling. "Is there anyone?" The echoing voice, not an echo, was my own sound, repeated with someone else's voice. At that time, I still didn't realize it. I think I'm dreaming. Could be due to injury. Maybe my brain created an illusion. But then something happened that I couldn't deny anymore. I started seeing faces. Not clear, just pale silhouettes in the light. They stood by the trees, sat by the stream, and walked parallel to me. No one said anything, but their eyes seemed to peer straight into the heart. Not angry, no blame, just a terrifying, quiet sadness. At that time, I started to feel that something was wrong, a type of insecurity that comes not from the environment, but from within. It feels like I'm facing myself, a version I've never dared to look directly at. I don't know how long it will take. I don't know why I'm not exhausted yet. All laws of physics no longer seem to apply. And then, I saw something that, to this day, I still cannot fully describe with words. In front of me was a soft light, as if morning dew had gathered in the middle of a forest glade. And in that light, there was a man standing there. Not tall, not majestic, but something made me stop immediately. My eyes sting. My heart beats strongly. The whole body seemed frozen. He needs no introduction. I know it's Jesus. I don't know why I'm so sure. I have never believed in him, even laughing at those who believe. But in that moment, I knew. It's like a part of my soul was used to that presence, but only now remembered it. He did not speak immediately. Just look at me. That look, oh God, that look was not that of an angry God. Those were the eyes of a father looking at his lost child. Without saying anything, I started crying, not out of fear, not out of regret, but because I know I was wrong. And that is just the beginning. If you're still listening to me here, you're probably looking for something too. Maybe you don't believe in God. Maybe you have turned your back on religion like me, but please stay, because what happened next changed me completely. And it can reach you too. I told you about the moment I saw him, Jesus, in the middle of that strange forest. There was no thunderclap, no sensational miracle, no overwhelming aura like what books often describe. Just a gentle light and a look that took my breath away. At that time, I stood still, not daring to step forward, nor daring to turn away. All the knowledge I once had, definitions, theories, explanations, they disappeared like mist. I am no longer a scientist. I am no longer the one in control. I was just a soul, naked, confused, and for the first time in my life, feeling so small. He took a step forward, and then he spoke. Do you know who I am? I swallowed hard. Cannot answer. I wanted to nod, but I was also afraid of saying the wrong thing. Actually, deep inside me, I know the answer. But there is something that makes me feel unworthy to utter his name. God does not wait for an answer. He just looked at me. That look made me want to cry without knowing why. No pain, no fear, just a sharp feeling in my heart, as if someone was gently squeezing it, not letting it break, just enough for me to feel every scratch. I've lived a long time without knowing who I am, he said. His voice is not heavy, but it is penetrating. Not through our ears, but through our hearts. I stood there, silent, trying to swallow the tears that were rising. I think I'm doing the right thing. I think I live for the truth. But the truth is not just data. The truth is love. I've never heard anyone say it in such a tone, full of understanding. No accusations, no condemnations, simply the truth. And it makes me feel sick. God pointed his hand towards an old tree not far away. I turned my head to look, and what I saw there wasn't a tree, it was my whole life. Everything I've ever done, thought, felt, not through images like in movies. It's as if I'm standing in my own memory. I see myself as a child, eagerly holding a magnifying glass to explore insects in the garden for the first time. I saw my mother's eyes looking at me affectionately, saw my father smiling even though he didn't understand what his child was pursuing. Then I found myself growing up, starting to believe that emotions are weak. I see the times I refused to hug my mother because I was grown up. See the time I argued with my best friend just because he reminded me to pray. I even saw heated debates with people of faith. I saw their eyes quiet and depressed, and I, always complacent, because I won. But what hurts the most is when I see the little creatures I once studied, the birds captured to attach tracking devices, the monkeys I used as examples in lectures. I saw the look in their eyes when they were locked up. I feel their fear. And then I saw the native people, the people I once called uncivilized. I used to ignore their prayers before entering the forest, used to criticize them for being superstitious. I used to think I could liberate them with modern knowledge. God said nothing more, but I understand everything. I fell to the ground, knelt, and could no longer stand. Not because anyone forced me to kneel, but because not kneeling, I couldn't bear it. I burst into tears. Not because I feel sinful in the dogmatic sense, but because for the first time, I clearly saw that I had lived my whole life without truly loving. I think I'm a good person. I don't kill anyone. I don't steal. I live with principles and ideals. But I have never loved, never stopped to listen to anyone, never really looked someone in the eye without judging them. God put his hand on my shoulder. That touch was light, but I felt warmth flowing through every fiber of my body. And in that moment, I heard him say, not with words, but with my heart, I don't need you to be perfect. I need you to realize who you are. I fell face down on the ground like a child. For many years, I used reason to avoid emotions. Now, it all crumbles. I don't know how much time passed. When I raised my head, I saw a river in front of me. That river does not have transparent water. It sparkles like glass, but is deep. And I understand. Those are the tears of the living beings that I have forgotten. I looked at it and saw how I had walked past them, and I wonder, how many of us are living like I did? How many people think that they are good just because they have never committed a crime, but forget that indifference can also destroy a soul? God told me, you can still go back, but if you go back, you have to change. I asked him, how do I know I am good enough to return? He just smiled. It's not good enough, just honest enough. I don't have all the answers, but then I blurted out the only thing I knew for sure. I don't want to live like before anymore. And at that moment, that light enveloped me. The forest trees sounded as if the whole nature was breathing a sigh of relief. And I know I will be back. But I also know the person who will wake up in that body is no longer the old Elias Wren. If you are listening to me here, perhaps something inside you is stirring too. Maybe you thought like me, that faith is a distant thing, but I'm here to say, light is always waiting for us. We just need to be brave enough to turn around. I'm not saying you have to go into the woods or die clinically to find God. Sometimes you just need to stop and ask yourself, am I really living? Because once you start asking that question, you will see you were never alone. God is still there. In the eyes of someone you once passed, in the sound of the morning birds you don't pay attention, in all the tears you tried to hide. And when you are willing to look, you will see him, just like I saw. I used to think the moment I met Jesus would be my last moment, a sacred farewell before I left this world forever. But what happened next shocked me even more than seeing him. I was not held back. He did not ask me to stay, nor did he take me away. He just quietly gave me a choice. I still remember his voice clearly. If you really want to change, I will give you a chance. Then the light retreated, not disappearing, but as if leading the way. I don't walk. More precisely, I was carried along, gently, without resistance, as if I were floating in a heartbeat of love. I passed through strange places, a valley filled with glowing streams, a bridge woven with delicate strands of light, and ahead a breathtaking peace. Not the paradise I had imagined, no palaces, no glory, but just a feeling of home. I thought I would get there. But then, a slight vibration made the entire space shake. I was pulled back. Everything rotates. The light dimmed, and I heard another voice, no longer the voice of God, but the voice of reality. Someone is calling my name. Elias, Elias, wake up! I tried to open my eyes, eyelids as heavy as lead. My body ached, breathing rapidly, as if just emerging after being submerged for a long time. I see a dim yellow light. Smell the herbal scent. Listen to the sound of wind blowing through the bamboo wall. I am lying on a primitive bamboo bed. Next to me was a local man, his eyes filled with worry and relief at the same time. He whispered something in his native language and then bowed his head as if thanking heaven and earth. It took me a few hours to understand what was going on. I was found by a group of local hunters after 5 days of disappearance. They said I was lying unconscious under the tree. The strange thing was that there were no serious injuries. My heartbeat was so weak that I thought I was dead. They intended to leave me behind, thinking I couldn't survive. But then an old woman in the village said, "The forest hasn't let him go yet." And so they brought me home, saved me with ancient remedies, with patience and quiet faith. It took me 2 days to be able to sit up, 4 days of travel. But the most difficult thing is not physical recovery. It's about facing the truth. I've lived a life without knowing what love is. Everything after that was no longer the same. I can't go back to being the old person. I cannot look at a tree, an animal, or a person's eyes without seeing a soul waiting to be heard. I no longer feel like I'm better than anyone else. On the contrary, I felt like I needed to relearn everything, from how to listen to how to touch others without hurting them. I left the Amazon after nearly a month of living with that tribe. They didn't send me off with much fanfare. Just bow your head. But the look in their eyes, calm, warm, told me that they had seen a change in me. They don't need an explanation. When he returned to America, everyone was surprised. Some people said I was lucky to escape death. Some people say it's a miracle. But I said nothing. It's not because I want to hide it, but because I need time to understand what really happened. Every night I sit in front of the window, look up at the sky, and remember his eyes. I'm not vague about what I've been through. I knew I was dead, somehow, and I was resurrected, not only physically, but also spiritually. After a few weeks, I started writing, not writing a scientific report, but writing my journey, with my heart. I tell about my experience in a small book called Light in the Forest. I don't write to prove anything. I write for those who feel empty and tired, for those who think they have to be so strong that they can't cry. I started sharing at community talks, in church, and even small groups in the park. No one forced me to do it. But I know that's why I came back, not to live for myself anymore. Many people ask me, "Are you sure it's God? Maybe it's just a hallucination due to lack of oxygen in the brain." I don't argue. I just smiled and said, "I don't need to be sure. I just need to remember the feeling when he looked at me. That look is not something an illusion can create." You know, my life before was filled with schedules, work, goals, but now I learned to stop. I learned to listen to birdsong without analyzing the frequency. Look at a flower petal without quickly looking up the scientific name. Shake someone's hand without thinking about whether they are on the same level as you. I live more slowly, but each moment is fuller. And the best thing, I started praying. Not the stereotypical type of prayer, but honest conversations with the one I once denied. I told him about my fears, about my loneliness, about even the small joys. And strangely, I always feel that he is listening. If you are listening to me here, perhaps your heart is silently asking, "Is it true? Can I change too?" I'm not here to force you to believe. I just want you to know you are not alone, and you don't have to die to start over. Sometimes, just a pause, a true look at yourself, a hesitant prayer is enough to get started. I'm dead and live again. Not to show off that I'm special, but to tell you, you can also step over that abyss without having to fall to the bottom, because the light is always waiting there. Just turn your head. God is not far away. He is right in the eyes of the person next to you, in the sound of the gentle wind, in the seemingly smallest things. I'm Elias, and I used to be blind, but now I see, and I pray that you will see too. If you ask me what was the hardest thing after returning, it wasn't recovering my health. It's not about redoing your career or adapting to modern life. The hardest thing is to maintain the fire that has been lit in the middle of that forest. Because you know, this world moves very fast. It doesn't wait for you to change. No one around you really cares what you've been through if it doesn't serve their goals. And for the most part, if you say you met God in a near-death experience, people will look at you as if you just said you're from another planet. At first, I tried to explain. I brought what I felt and put it on the table like a gift, honest and fragile. Gile. But many people just laughed. Some people nodded shyly, like, yeah, that's great, then turned away. Some people bluntly believe that I have post-traumatic psychological disorder. Some people love me as if I were a lost person trying to hold on to an illusion, and I understand them. I used to be one of them. I once sat in the position of the person nodding politely while thinking, this person must be tired. So I don't blame you. I just silently continue to live with what I know is true. I start from the smallest things, like how I talk to the cashier at the supermarket. I look them in the eyes and ask them an honest question. Are you okay today? Not the social kind, but genuine concern. I change the way I drive. No more jostling just to get there a few minutes faster. I realized sometimes slowing down a little gives others a chance to breathe. I called an old friend whom I had cut off over a frivolous argument. I'm sorry, not because I was completely wrong, but because I chose friendship over ego. I wrote my mother a handwritten letter, my first in over 10 years, and told her I was grateful that she kept praying for me, even though I brushed it off every time she mentioned God. You see, just having an experience with God doesn't mean you have to do something great. Sometimes, change starts with very small choices. But when you do it with a true heart, you will see miracles happen. A friend who once doubted me suddenly called me one day just to say, I don't know why, but there's something about you that makes me feel safe. A student who attended my sharing session cried after the talk. She said, for the first time, I don't feel lost. I began to realize what I brought back from the dead was not a story to tell well. It's a way of life, and it is that way of life that is the strongest testimony. I no longer need people to believe what I see. I just hope they feel what I'm living. If you're here listening to me until now, maybe you're also carrying some kind of scar in your heart. Maybe you felt lonely in your own home. Maybe you've asked yourself, am I really loved? I'm here to tell you, yes, you are loved. Not because you're perfect, but because you are you. And that love I've seen does not require you to understand everything in life. You just need to be willing to open your heart. Just dare to go back, even if it's just a small step. I don't live to preach. I'm not good at the Bible. But I know this. Each of us, no matter how far we go, can start again. No one is too late. No one is too broken. I used to be a stubborn, cold person who didn't believe in anything but myself. Yet now I sit here telling you about the love of the one I once denied. It's not a quick turnaround. It's a return, a journey, step by step. And I invite you to walk with me. There's no need to understand it all. No need to believe it right away. Just don't close your heart. Try stopping, turning off your phone, taking a deep breath, and asking yourself, am I living the life I want? If the answer is not sure, then you are ready. I don't promise that this journey will be easy, but I know it's worth it. Because of that light, once you see it, you will never forget it, and you'll want others to touch it too. I'm Elias, a person who thought he was strong because he didn't need anyone. And now, I am stronger than ever, because I know I am not alone. You're not alone either. And you have never been invisible. You are seen, you are known, and you are loved. If I can change, then you can too. And that's why I tell this story, not for you to believe me, but for you to believe in yourself, that you are worthy of that light too. And the light is still waiting for you. In the end, there was one thing I realized more deeply than anything else. God did not meet me at the peak of glory, did not wait for me to become a good person before appearing. He comes when I fall, when I have nothing left to hold on to, when I thought I was a failure, lost, exhausted all faith. And at that moment, he stepped forward, not for punishment, but to embrace. I'm not telling you this because I'm special. I have nothing more than you. I've also had doubts, been hurt, and made many mistakes. But if God hasn't abandoned me, He certainly won't abandon you either. I don't have a magic spell that will help you change instantly, but I have an invitation. Let's try starting with something small. A sincere thank you. Forgive once. One time you sit down, close your eyes and say, I am here. If you are real, please let me feel. No need to be sure. Just be honest enough. I don't promise you will hear a voice from heaven, but I believe somehow you will start to see change in the way you look at others, in the way you see yourself. And one day you will realize you are no longer walking alone. If I can come back from the darkest place of my soul, then you can too. If I can forgive myself, then you deserve to be forgiven too. I'm still Elias. I'm still learning how to live better every day. But now I don't live alone. I live with the belief that the light is always there, not to shine, but to guide. And if you are walking in the dark, please don't turn away. Maybe that light is very close. Just stop, open your heart, and say, I am ready. At that moment, the whole universe will be silent just to listen to you, and you will know you have never been forgotten.